I don't know that anyone understands just how angry I am today. Oh boy, I am not kidding. There are 2 hours left on this show. I could spend 2 hours talking about what a degenerate you have to be to go into a church during a service and scream into the faces of the parishioners. That's what was happening. They were accosting one by one parishioners and screaming at them. There was a woman in the service, holding a cup of coffee, and a guy berated her and yelled at her. These are attention seekers. These are bad people. I would dare to say you got to be some sort of evil. There's got to be some sort of demonic influence if you're in your life. If you wake up on a Sunday morning and you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go terrorize people in a church. It's ridiculous. It's insane. Bonkers, I tell you. All right, Judy on the line. Hi there, Judy. Good morning.
Hey, April Mary, I tell you what, you make me want to subscribe to 1819.
Aw.
Okay, I just love you. Okay, let me tell you something. I am so proud of our president. We don't have somebody who's standing up there and looking after his own self interest and padding his pocket like a lot of them do. These Democrats are. They have got people looking for every excuse they can to hit the streets, and communists are paying for this. We're going to lose our country. We're going to absolutely lose it. It does make me mad that they went into the churches like that. They'll do anything to get publicity and to scare the public.
Yep.
They want to put fear out of us. Donald Trump cannot. He's not afraid. He is going to stand up for us, and I don't care if he does put um, information in his account, that talks about what's going on. We need to know what's going on, and people need to wake up. They're not going to get a bunch of free stuff. They may get it at first, but what did they say? Communism works as long until you run out of somebody else's money.
Yep.
Okay, so they're going. I mean, I'm 100% behind this man, but we need to wake up in this country and realize what we're up against. We're up against pure evil, and the evil is out to destroy America.
I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. This is a their next level of evil of wrongdoing, and I wasn't aware. I'm looking at news this morning that other churches have had this happen to them. There was an individual who, during a protest led by the same person who had led this one, had an eardrum busted out because they were screaming in his ear. It should be prosecuted to the full. We have seen the weaponization of Department of Justice of our court system. If these individuals are not prosecuted to the full extent of the law, each and every one of them that was in that building, we're going to have a real problem in the United States because
And we need to demand it. We
this
need to demand it. No more pussyfooting around. We don't care who they are. We don't care if they're the Clintons, whoever they are. If they do wrong, what they say is nobody's above the law.
Yep.
Okay.
Every
All right.
every
It's
single
time.
person from the people who were there to the people who paid for it and organized it. If we can track down grandmas who followed a crowd into the U.S. Capitol building, we can darn sure track down these domestic terrorists, and that's what they are.
Well, not only that, the other countries are behind this too, wanting to destroy America because we do stand up and we do make them stand up and we make them pay the tariffs. They want to destroy us.
Um,
So we're up against more than just George Soros and other folks like that. We have got to stand up and take care of our country. It's
I
time to pay attention, guys, and it's not your daddy or your granddaddy's Democratic Party. My
no.
first vote was for Democrats, and my grandfather was against it. I voted for Kennedy, and he finally made me tell that I voted for Kennedy. But and I was behind them, but we can't be behind them now because they've been bought out.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to give us a call, Judy. I agree with you wholeheartedly. This is an orchestrated effort to undermine the values of our country, to undermine the safety and security of our country. This is their lines have been crossed, and I do believe that the Trump administration is going to get to the bottom of this.
I agree with you, April Marie.
You
Thank
take
you so
care.
much, and I'll be looking for you in the future.
And I'll tell you what, listen, do this. 1819 News has a daily email, and pretty often, a couple days a week, you'll find my stories on trying to get rid of the wokeness in our colleges, our high school K-12 and colleges. Will you typically be one of the top stories there? So get the email and then just scroll down the headlines and click the ones you want to. It's a really good newsletter, and it'll keep you up to date with what's going on in state politics. You take care.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
And I'll add that it costs nothing to get that daily email. It's a free subscription. You can be a member to 1819 and get merch. And we got sweatshirts and hoodies and T-shirts and cups and all ball caps, all the things. You can do that, but it's a free newsletter, and we won't spam you. You'll get one email a day with the first thing in the morning, so you can catch up on all your headlines. And then we have weekend newsletters now, so you get those as well. All right, Brett on the line. How's it going, Brett?
Good. I just want to tell the lady that just called in. You know, I'm not her enemy, even though we don't see things the same way. But don't come after us like that.
Who's us?
We're
The
not your
Democrats?
enemy. Yeah, the Democrats.
Well, what about the leftist Democrats? Do you think it's fair to say the people who are barging into churches and terrorizing ICE agents, can we agree that they're an enemy of all of us who are lawful?
Yeah, but they're not the ones that are really your enemy. The billionaires are your enemy.
Oh, I
They're
disagree.
the ones that.
The billionaires,
You disagree?
the billionaires, there are billionaires out there funding this hot mess that is going on. But then there are groups of useful idiots who are out there participated, and then there are genuinely evil people who are out there coordinating the useful idiots and trying to divide this country. And I'd say that people who spend their entire days trying to divide our country and undermine law enforcement and undermine the law, that is the enemy.
Okay, but you don't think Trump, he tries to divide the country also?
I think Trump can get very mouthy, but no, I do not. I believe Trump wants our United States to be
He
stronger.
doesn't call us out like the last lady that just called and said that we are the enemy. He doesn't call us the loony left, because y'all can't decipher between loony left and left.
But here's the
So,
problem: the left can't, and I respect you so much for calling, Brett. I wish more Democrats would call so we could have this conversation. The left has got to distance itself from the loony left, and it's hard to tell the difference when they're on the U.S. Supreme Court. When you have a woman on the U.S. Supreme Court who cannot tell us that the definition of a man and woman, when they put up experts who refuses to say, can a man get pregnant? Not complicated. Like, Brett, can a man get pregnant?
no.
Yeah, easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Matter. It doesn't matter, does it?
It does. You know why? Because
Is that what really makes your life go around? Because somebody doesn't know that a man can't have a baby? Does that really just piss you off?
It really does just tick me off to a degree
Well,
that's
then Oh,
wild,
okay.
and I'll tell you why. And I just put him on hold for a half a second there, so you'll have to help me get him back, Harry. I'm going to stop and say why it ticks me off. Why it ticks me off is because it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's telling us not to believe what's in front of us. It's compelling us to go along with the lies. It's a country where, from our K-12 classes, from our preschools to our elementary schools to our middle schools, they're being lied to, and we're being told to suck it up. We're supposed to say, and you look at it's the small lies, right? The small lies, like it's mean to say that a man can't get pregnant. It's a small lie to say that we should object to being called oppressors. That whites should be okay with all this DEI indoctrination. That whites should be okay with these check the boxes hires and the undermining of white men. And if I am not by any stretch of the imagination radical, but I'll tell you what, I get concerned about the next generation because I see it. And it's not I'm concerned for the next generation of white men. I'm concerned about the next generation of Americans and what the left overall as a party, not an individual person, but overall as a party, what the left has done to make us forget reality, to make us deny reality. Okay, I'm bringing Brett back now that I had my little rant there. Go ahead, Brett.
Okay. Yeah. Look, the white men from Gen X, that generation of men are the sorriest men because the ones you're having problems with now are the ones that raised those kids that are having the problems now. Gen X men are sorry they didn't take care of their women like their fathers did. The baby boomers, they didn't. They destroyed this country because they don't stand up for nothing. But they'll whine and complain about everything, but they don't stand up for themselves. Every day I watch them get walked all over. And you want respect, then act respectful. But you can't. You're not the Gen X white man. He is the biggest piece of junk this country has ever had as a generation. And like I said, the people that you're having problems with, the Gen Y and the Gen Z and millennials, they raised them kids.
How did we get here? How we got here is it's not the old school parents who or
Ronald Reagan got us here. Ronald Reagan got us here.
How did
He
we
destroyed the unions and the working class, the middle class, and now you're all out here trying to figure it out. And you bought houses that you can't afford. It's all going back. I don't even know why y'all are paying it. You think you're going to make it to the end? You can't work no harder than me, and I can't even make it to the end. And I make good money.
And the unions, the lack of unions is the problem. The same unions who wanted to keep our schools closed until they and our kids from getting a good education while they negotiated for more benefits for themselves. Those unions?
Yeah, they want the benefits for you. When the union sets the standard, everybody else comes along with it. All boats rise. But y'all keep.
Do you really believe that? Do you believe that all boats rise with unions right now? Do you think that the public unions, our school teacher unions, the federal government unions, you think those are making our country a stronger, better place? You have not been paying attention what the unions have been doing. Go to any union website and look at the far left. You want to talk about these ideological differences, these crazy, what the unions now are doing are they're funding the wackiest of the liberals. That's what these unions are doing. Your NEA, your AEA, your labor unions, you talk about what makes Democrat look bad. It's the candidates these unions are funding. Was Kamala Harris the best and brightest that the Democrats had? Not by a long shot.
Both sides.
Not by a long shot. Oh, very, very rarely. Very, very. Your AEA here does. You know why? Because they figured out they would be completely pushed into a. No, the NEA, go find me a Republican in the state of Alabama or even in the Southeast that the NEA has supported in the last 2 decades. I'll wait for it. I'm serious. They don't support conservatives. They want the wackiest of the liberal ideas, the ones that we're fighting against consistently. That's what the unions are funding. Union and hard workers, middle-class Americans are funding the efforts that dismantle ultimately the values that keep this country going. And they work for. I'm middle class, working class. My dad was a pizza delivery guy and a Walmart stalker, a grocery store stalker. I am the middle class, if not the lower middle class.
Oh, so you're making $180,000 a year
so
by yourself?
So that's not the middle class. That's not the middle class in this country.
Middle class.
That is
the middle class is $50,000.
The middle class
that's not middle class no more. That's poor.
The middle class in Alabama is $39,700 to $119,000. If you are making over that, you're living in I was going to name one of the affluent areas of the suburbs around here. Okay, I've got to take a break. I've talked myself 4 minutes over the break. Thank you, Brett. It's great to hear from you. I really do enjoy this. I don't know why it's my thing. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. 545-9950. Please, if you're a liberal listening, call and tell me how wrong I am. Those are my favorite conversations. Back in just a second. Well, good afternoon. April Marie here, filling in for Andrew. Carrie from the sorriest sack of generations.
Yeah, it hurt my feelings. I mean, all of us? So
All-
I can't say that all left people are crazy?
Apparently not.
Hmm.
But the entire your entire generation,
I like Brett.
written off,
Hmm.
written off.
I guess Brett must be a boomer. I don't know.
I don't know.
He sounds too old to be less than X, right?
I'm on that cusp. I'm 44, and technically, I'm. It depends on what list you're looking at, which generation I'm in.
You should claim Generation X.
I should claim.
I'll
X.
let you. Yes.
Okay, exennial. Sometimes they'll call us an exennial. But
Hmm.
yeah, what year were you born?
73.
Okay, you're just a tiny bit older than me. All
Little
right,
bit.
we've got Ron on the line. Hi there, Ron. How's it going?
Hey, April Marie,
Yes,
I
sir.
want to compliment you for standing up for what's right.
Thank you. I
I want to
appreciate that.
compliment you, but don't get too argumentative that they cut you off the air. And sometimes your cumulus radio up in wherever they listen to these shows, and sometimes you can be so passionate and so demonstrative about your conservatism. They don't necessarily like that. They want you to be in the middle of the road.
Oh,
So I want to compliment you for standing up for what you feel is right.
well, I appreciate
And
that.
I've been listening to news talk radio going all the way back to Matt Murphy. Okay, so I've been a long time listener, first time caller, and you know what made me call is your passion about the
thank
right
you.
and the good. Okay, so hang in there. You know it's going to get tough because there'll be some other callers call after they hear that, for lack of a better term, liberal that called in, and but he's a minority. He's not the majority of listeners at talk radio. News Talk Radio 99.5. He is not the majority. So don't shoot the bird out here and think that everybody's his type of philosophy. In Alabama, he is just look at the numbers, Republican, Democrat, percentage of vote and don't vote. So he's a minority, and don't let him get to your smarts, okay?
Well, you got it. Thank you so much, Ron, and thank you for listening. 99.5 is great. I love the whole team here.
Take care of yourself.
Well,
Bye.
thank you. You take care. Well, that was a pleasant call. That was a good follow up to the call before. And I don't use the term. You'll find I'm one of the more measured voices you'll find on radio. But I'll tell you, there is no denying that a large number on the left is out to destroy. And now there are large number on the left, the quiet number on the left who don't agree. But when you've got people looking you in the eye and saying, I can't tell you the difference between a man and a woman. I can't tell you if men get pregnant. Why does it matter? Because it's as simple as being black and white, right or wrong, true or false. Why does it matter? Why does that one little thing bother me? Because the minute we let go of the truth, the minute we cede, oh yeah, okay. Well, we don't want that one woman who's cut her hair and decided she's a boy. We don't want to upset her by saying men can't get pregnant when she thinks she's a man. No, that's toxic empathy. That is a poison. That is a woke mind virus. The minute we start seeding these facts, the minute we start letting Democrats, progressive, liberals, whatever you want to call them, the people who want to rewrite history, the minute we let them do that with one fact, one detail, then we lose it. We lose it all. As soon as they start saying, and I say they, in a big old basket of people, and take a pick of any of those ideas that we know are wrong, do you agree with anti-ICE individuals, anti-ICE rioters storming a church? Yes or no? And if you say yes, you're on the wrong side of history. Can you look at a little white baby and say he's an oppressor? If you say yes, you're on the wrong side of history. It's that easy. Are you out there celebrating Hamas terrorists? You're on the wrong side of things. And I would dare to venture that all of these things are evil. If you look at an innocent little baby and you see him because of this color of his skin as something, like I said, I'll go with the oppressor or you look at a little baby, a little black baby, and you think he's going to be one way or another. Both of those are racist. Both of those are wrong. You look at any of what's going on the left. There's a reason these issues are what got Trump to win, because Trump was unapologetically honest. Unapologetically honest. It's not all good guys coming across the border. It's not people coming across the border to live the American dream. There are some really bad people coming across the border. Are there good people just skipping line? Yep. Should they be allowed to stay? Nope. We have a process. It's a flawed and broken process. Why can't we fix our process? We've been talking about it for decades. Well, one of the reasons is because we have to extend so much energy, so much personnel, so many resources to getting the bad guys out. I get so frustrated with what's happening in our country because we're being expected not just to lie to one another, but to lie to ourselves. And that's not okay. All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we'll get into more of the national and state headlines. You guys hold tight. It's April Marie. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Andrew. He returns tomorrow. If you are missing your hey nows, and as one caller wrote in, your fart jokes. Don't give any of those from me. Usually, the only time you get those from me is if I'm reporting that my sons have gotten into a mood of them, which occasionally they will. Occasionally. And that's the boy mom. The boy mom, oh, I didn't plan on this. I'm pretty sure my middle son went through a phase of saying nothing but what we call potty words for like 3 months. He just thought they were the most hilarious thing in the world. He's 9 now. He's grown out of that, or at least grown out of that for a little while. So that got that going for me. Carrie here, keeping me out of trouble. Him and his worthless generation.
Yes. Sorry about that. I feel so bad.
That's such a broad brush. Like I'm pretty specific. When I insult people, I insult a very specific genre of people. I'm like not just all progressives, but we'll say the ones with green hair, purple hair, and crazy nose rings, tattoos on the neck and face. Like I narrow my insults down to a pretty specific group of people. In today's case, anybody who has gone inside a church to disrupt the service or are supportive of that, yep, you go in my basket full of deplorables.
I would agree with that.
I just, it's a very small basket. I try not to lump people in, but there are things in which I'm going.
I like how they picked a church with a very small congregation.
Yeah.
Wasn't a whole lot of people.
I tell you what, again.
It looked like they were even outnumbered.
I have a friend here in, and I won't say what church, but I have a friend who's like, yeah, that's why people sign up in shifts to be armed at our church services, because they are not gonna have any of that nonsense there. Okay, I am taking a point of personal privilege here, and I want to wish a happy birthday to Alan Rice, who is the former city manager or city administrator for Hoover. It is his birthday today, so if you know him, drop him a text and tell him happy birthday. Last week it was Grady's birthday. He's my favorite photographer, avid listener of When I Fill In, and all around good guy. But there's only a handful of people who I'll give a shout out on air. But I know Alan listens from time to time, so happy birthday, Alan. All right, we've got the phone lines open, 545-9950. I was talking about it. I was scrolling last night looking for content for today, and an oldie but a goodie came up in my timeline, speaking of people with crazy hair and things. And it was an old study, and I sent it to myself, that was, you ever see those studies where you're like, do we need an expert to tell us that? Because I'm not entirely convinced that was a good use of money and resources. Like, oh, yeah, that was an USAID one. No, without a doubt. But there was a study on the prevalence of mental illness among those who have unnatural hair colors. So it was basically it was a self-identified study, and they talked to thousands of people, and it was basically there was a correlation between people who dyed their hair purple, pink, green, and blue, and depression, anxiety, and other severe and persistent mental health care issues. And I'm going, we knew that, right? Like, I didn't need you to spend time and money to say that, generally speaking, if I see someone with that color hair, I know they're going through a little something. Okay? It's like my girlfriends and their hair. If I go to meet one of my girlfriends for coffee, and suddenly her hair is a very different color or a very different length, it's safe to assume something's going on in her life. Probably got a breakup, lost her job, something major's going on. For whatever reason, when the left has something going on, when they have gone just a little too far down the rabbit hole of crazy, they decide to dye their hair really crazy colors. And I looked at the study and I was like, well, I can appreciate that someone thought this was. I'm trying to pull it up where as I talk about it here. But the potential, the link between hair color, anxiety, and depression. and it says that it's tied to nonconformity. People going through things don't want to conform. I have already warned my kids. Now I've got a couple tattoos for those, and if you're looking at the live stream, you can see two. I'll hold two up. One is on my left wrist. Let's see if I can get my watch off here. I've got the Giving Tree, the little boy from the Giving Tree, tattooed on my left wrist. And I don't regret that one. There are ones where I'm like, well, I don't know about that. But I've got that on my left arm. On my right arm, I've got a semicolon for the Semicolon Project. I've talked about this on air over the last week. I'm avid supporter of getting rid of the stigma related to mental health care for those with severe and persistent mental illness. Not those who are attention seeking, not those who are asking us all to affirm their mental illness and their delusions, but true people who need help. Our veterans who come home with PTSD, our individuals who can't be in a home setting, the individuals who can't hold down a job and need medication. Those who really seriously need health care, I'm a big avid supporter of making sure we return as a nation to the obligation of helping those who cannot help themselves. So Semicolon Project on my wrist. I was naming my tattoos, by the way. I'm getting to a point here. On my right foot, I've got a Republican elephant. That's a thing. Okay, that's all the tattoos I'm going to talk about on the air. But what I will say is, I tell my kids all the time, they will be dead meat the day they come home with a tattoo. And God forbid my daughter ever comes home with something. Well, either of my boys, there will be no piercings in our house. But God forbid my daughter comes home with something besides her ears pierced. She does want additional piercings in her ear, and I'm like, okay, that I can handle. But if she comes home with one of those like nose rings, oh, that'll be the end. Whatever bills I'm still paying at that point, dunzos. One of my kids comes home with a different color hair. God forbid my daughter comes home with a different color hair. Again, we're having that same conversation of what bills is mama paying and how are we going to reassess this and how do we get you the help that you need, because that is not okay. But when I do make fun of the left, which I do on occasion, I will always throw in there's a very specific kind of Democrat I'm usually talking about. And it's not really the Blue Dogs. We still have some holdovers. Now in Alabama, they'll slap an R behind their name so they can get elected, but they're still Democrats at heart. I believe Kay Ivey is one of those. We've got a number of those in the legislature. They don't fall into the same pocket of crazy. They're different. They're a lighter, gentler pocket of crazy. I'm still not a fan. If you are air quotes pro-choice, pro we're gonna kill some babies, not a fan. If you are anti-ICE and for the doxing of them, not a fan. But I truly believe, as a country, we are going to see Democrats wake up to what has hijacked their party. Because this isn't that you can listen to. And I know there's a lot of people who don't like him, and that's a whole story for a different day, Epstein and all the things. But Bill Clinton didn't necessarily always sound like a crazy. He wasn't. We've had some Democrats in Congress who were not crazier than a sprayed roach. We've had some Democrats here in Alabama, not all the crazy. And yet, the left as a whole in the Democrat Party, you look at Kamala Harris, you look at the Supreme Court justices, and you go, what has happened to you? And they have allowed their crazy to hijack their agenda. That's why I'm so adamant. Last week, I talked several times about Candace Owens. And the last time I was on before that, during the holidays, I would talk about her. We on the right, we need to, should, and I thankfully a lot of us do, point to our crazy and say, not it. That person's not representative of us. If there's somebody out there speaking ill of Jewish people, not a fan. No different the level of hate coming from the left or the level of hate coming from the right. And we should all call out that every time we see it. If there is a crazy person on the right, Candace Owens, we got to own our own crazy too. Because the minute we see that, then the Democrats can paint that to say that's what all of us are. And that's not who all of us are. That's a very rare thing. And the majority of us want just a better country, a better place, and to do things the right way. All right, when we come back, I'm going to get into some more of these. We're in legislative session week 2. I mentioned earlier that I had 2 stories up today on 1819news.com. If you haven't if you don't get the newsletters, I was mentioning this, you can get the newsletters. We're not going to spam you. We're not going to try to sell you anything. Occasionally, I think they do fundraising because we're a 501c3, a nonprofit organization. But for the most part, you're just going to get the headlines every morning in your inbox so you can wake up and catch up on what's going on and what's happening. But today I have two stories up. One is the AEA scoffs at a 2% pay raise for teachers. And then our very own state representative, Susan DuBose, talks about how that impacts teachers, how that impacts our ability to hire, how that impacts our ability to maintain teachers in this state. And I think that's an important conversation we need to have. And then the second story, also featuring Susan DuBose, and by the way, that was unintentional, but I had two different. She did a really good interview, and things just kind of came together that way. I usually don't write two about the same person. But talking about what we need to do with how the legislature is set to reevaluate Alabama's colleges and universities and the way they train teachers. Because it's really important. Do we have universities still doing DEI and other woke radical ideology? If so, we got to make sure we're getting that the heck out of there and that our teachers are learning to teach. Are they learning to teach the right way? Are they learning to teach based on phonics and the science of reading versus older methods that have been disproved and aren't working? I saw, and I talked about this last week, where it was Rahm Emanuel who was saying, look at the South and how the fast pace that the students are gaining literacy skills. And it's because we stopped with the junk science of reading stuff and we started putting on what actually works, and kids are learning to read. So how do we make sure that the people we're training to be teachers in our K through 12 classrooms, that they're getting the right things? So we're going to talk about those two stories that I did coming up after this break. You guys hold tight. April Marie here, filling in for Andrew. I told myself I was going to do a couple hey nows, Carrie, and I have not. I
You just did.
I don't know how to use it.
You just did it.
Yeah, but that's lame. You can't that's like the parents trying to use drop.
Hey now.
Yeah, it's
Hey, now.
lame.
Hey now. I can't do it either. I cannot do it either.
It's a whole thing. People have been missing their hey nows, and I can't give it to you. I'm sorry.
You can try. Try one more time. You can do it.
Hey now.
That's good.
I'm doing the best I can over here. All right. I got into two of the stories. One is the AEA. Okay. Let me gather around, children. Let me tell you a story. It's about the Alabama Education Association. The AEA has been billing themselves as a softer, friendlier, more conservative teachers union. And if you don't understand the absolute hilarity of those words going together, I cannot help you. They're a softer, gentler, more conservative teachers union. Only they gave $100,000, you heard that correctly, to a radical Democrat who hates everything Republicans stand for in the city of Mobile as they tried to get another liberal on the Big Ten Mayors Association have a outsized voice in again one of our biggest cities. When given the opportunity, and it's not just happened in Mobile, it's happened in a couple of state house races. When given the opportunity for a swing seat, the AEA will back the Democrat. Why? Because that's who they really are. The AEA is still affiliated with the NEA. If you want a whole bunch of crazy, a whole basket full of crazy, go check out the NEA website. And if you don't have time to do so, the Alabama Policy Institute did an entire study of some of the most radical, ridiculous things that the NEA is pushing onto teachers. Now, here's the little catch. If teachers in Alabama want resources, do they have good conservative resources of how to approach different things in their classroom? No. The AEA sends the teachers for training materials and educational reference materials to the NEA website where they can have all of the DEI, all of the LGBTQ, radical gender ideology stuff, where they can talk about how absolutely hateful and racist conservatives are, where they can go in to learn how to undermine Christianity and a traditional family structure. All of those things are NEA and therefore being passed to our teachers through the AEA. AEA, not good group. Not a good group. If you are a teacher in the state of Alabama, do not give your money to people whose values absolutely do not align with yours. Now, here's what's funny. So I of all the conversations I've had with State Representative Susan DuBose, I have never had a conversation about the AEA. Well, she did an interview on Right Side Radio, and she was talking about some of the education changes we're going to see in the state. And a little bit of inside baseball here, but it's very important if you are somebody who pays attention to what the state legislature is doing. And who should pay attention? Each and every listener to this station, each and every one of your friends and family and neighbors and colleagues. We should absolutely be paying attention to what's going on in Montgomery. But Terry Collins, who has been a champion for school choice, one of two left because they chased out Charlotte Meadows, one of my dear, dear friends who was in the State House of Representatives, and the Republicans decided it would be easier to have a wackadoo liberal, not a regular liberal, a wackadoo liberal, than to have a teacher, a educator who was against the AEA. That's what happened. They'll make all sorts of excuses. Oh, minority districts, we were required this, that, and the other. No, that's all nonsense. The reason Charlotte Meadows had her district redrawn the way that she did is because she was against Republicans in the legislature taking AEA money. Hands down, done. So Terry Collins has been a leader for school choice, for parental rights, for good things in education, and she announced that she is not running for re-election. So Representative DuBose says we are likely to get some good education bills this year. A, because it's Terry Collins last year, and they'll want to let her get a couple things through. Two is there's going to be bolder legislation because she doesn't have to worry about reelection. She doesn't have to worry about ticking off the powers that be. But some of these things we should really genuinely be paying attention to. So one is this I mentioned earlier in colleges, trying to make sure that our colleges really do have the woke out. Now, I'll give University of Alabama credit. They've done some really good things. They got rid of some of the radical gender ideology out of statements that were mandated for clubs at the university. I'm still working to get it out of their like student pledges. I forget what it's called, but basically, if in order to be a student there, you have to pledge to, and it's got some radical gender ideology stuff. They took the magazines. They had a series of magazines. They caught a lot of flack over this. What they did is the University of Alabama, and if you didn't follow this, you really should go look, especially if you're a University of Alabama alumni, because you have kids there. It would be really nice for you to send the administration a thank you for this. But they had these magazines, and I went back and I read this. Remember earlier, Carrie, when I was saying I rage read? Among the
Yeah.
things I rage read last year were these magazines that were just full of absolute nonsensical leftist propaganda. One magazine was for billed itself as for African American students, and it was basically, I would say, easily 1/3, if not more, of every magazine was pushing an agenda of how oppressed and how awful it is to be Black, and how awful whites are to you, and how whites don't understand this, and all of it was like, wow, what is happening here? And then in the air quotes women magazine, they got a queer non-binary lesbian. I don't remember what she was. She was something LGBTQ who absolutely looked the part, who was writing all of this nonsensical stuff. And this is magazines that are for students. So what the university president said is, I don't think the DOJ would like these very particular, very segregated magazines. So we're going to take all the magazine staff. We're going to pay you through another semester, and then we're going to fold these magazines into one magazine. And we're going to have one magazine for the university students, which, by the way, makes absolute sense. If your piece on I did not know this, things I read in the University of Alabama women's magazine, that signaling, did you know, here's a Carrie fun fact for you. Did you know that carrying a carabiner, you know the carabiners for like if you climb, carrying a carabiner signals to other people that you are queer. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Somebody wrote like this, the editor wrote like a 2.5-page
What
magazine
What if
article.
you're a rock climber?
Apparently you're signaling to the world that you're queer by carrying a carabiner with you. I immediately checked my keys because I used to have a set of keys that had a carabiner on it, and I was like,
no.
I was unintentionally signaling things I had no idea.
I may have.
Do you have one right now? You
I'm
do?
queer.
Oh my gosh, Carrie.
Well, I didn't know.
You didn't read the University of Alabama magazine.
Man.
Yeah. So
Another reason to be an Auburn fan.
there you go. Well, no. So this is a good thing. The University of Alabama was like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut out these two issues oriented magazines. We're gonna make one magazine. Well, all these leftists lost their mind. Freedom of speech, and I'm like, look, if you can't compete in a world in which your pieces are competing with one another and other content and get published, it's probably not good content. Like nobody needed to read that. There's some of these stories you're going, what in the heck did I just read? It was especially true, actually, I would say, of both magazines. But the University of Alabama administration got rid of these, and the leftists lost their mind and called it discrimination. We're seeing good things on campus. What Susan DuBose was saying is we're going to make sure, as a state, lawmakers are going to make sure they're keeping that up. They're continuing to do this, and they're doing that in a number of ways. All right, I talked myself right into a break. Didn't even get to all the things I wanted to get to on education. Guess I'll have to do that in the final hour of the program. You guys hold tight. April Marie here. You can find me on X, APRYLMARIE, and it is a pesky double first name, not just April. April Marie. Back in a second.